Restaurant Marketing Secrets, episode 147. I'm your host, Matt Plapp, and we are brought to you by America's Best Restaurants. America's Best Restaurants is on a path to help you, independent restaurant owners, find more frequent customers. Because why? Say it with me. Infrequent customers don't pay the damn bills. What I mean by that is your new customers aren't your lifeblood. Your lost customers aren't your lifeblood. The frequent customers are, and the goal of marketing is to convert new customers to frequent and to reconvert lost customers to frequent. Today, we're going to talk about how to do that with a different marketing tactic. And this is part 2 of a 3-part series. Yesterday, Tuesday, January 3rd, I talked about the golf seminars we did for Don't Winterize Your Golf Swing at a retail golf store in Northern Kentucky years ago. And that story came up because I was telling my sales team a week ago, I said, fellas, ladies, gents, we can't always be talking to the restaurants that we know about working with us. There's got to be things that you do to create a deeper relationship, deeper trust, more know, like, and trust outside of just how awesome our company is with helping restaurants. There's so much stuff. I've got a magazine on my desk right now, Franchise Times. I guarantee you there's an article in there that would be beneficial to somebody in our world. Well, you as a restaurant, it's the same thing. You can't always be talking to your customers about your food, your drinks, everything else. You've got to find different ways to build the relationship. So with that, I told the guys the golf seminar story, how the golf exchange, what we did in the off season to build deeper relationships without selling golf gear. And guess what it ended up doing? Selling a shitload of golf gear without even trying. So I said, I'm going to do that on the podcast. And then as I'm doing the podcast the other day, I'm like, wow, I need to tell the story of where this came from. And then I need to do a podcast about how you can leverage this type of marketing in a restaurant. So episode 1 of this was Tuesday, January 3rd. The second version's today, Wednesday, January 4th. And tomorrow, Thursday, January 5th, I will convert these ideas to how I would do something similar in a restaurant. I got a few ideas. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to yesterday's episode 146. Today, I'm going to talk about where it came from because what's fun, kind of comical is when I do podcasts, and I always tell people this, one of the reasons I love doing content is that more times than not, I say something and I'm like, oh shit, that's a good idea. I should do that. That's like an idea I made up on the spot, or it's something I did a long time ago and I just forgot, quit doing, which we all do that, right? We've all done something that's worked and then get away from it and then 2 years later go, man, I should do that. Well, as I'm sitting there telling the story yesterday on the podcast, I remembered where it came from. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, this came from our fishing seminars we did. But then I'm like, holy crap, no, the fishing seminar idea came from a jeweler. So I'm going to tell you the origin story of the jeweler, then how we did it at our boat dealership. And then tomorrow, again, we're going to build this for restaurants. So I was reading a magazine back in the day. I read books a lot now and magazines. Back in the day, I read a lot of magazines. And I was reading a business magazine. It was talking about how this jeweler built a strong holiday business around having a deeper understanding of what their customers actually wanted. Because their problem was, the golf exchange's problem I talked about yesterday was that too many people were coming in and buying $50 gift cards versus buying $300 drivers. This jeweler's problem was guys like me were coming in and just buying random crap for a couple $100 versus the right crap for a couple $1,000. And I kind of relate to that now that I think about it because this past August was my 23rd wedding anniversary, and I went to Herzog Jewelers, an independently owned local jewelry store in, I guess you consider that Fort Mitchell. And I went there and I said, hey, give me something with 23 diamonds. I didn't know what that was going to cost. And was it a ring, a bracelet, a necklace? Thank goodness they had a necklace that my wife ended up loving. But the year before, I went in and bought her a ring for Christmas that she ended up taking back and getting a bigger and better one. And so a lot of times that doesn't happen. And this jeweler's issue was that people were coming in for the holidays and buying the wrong products. And a lot of times weren't spending enough because if they knew what their spouse or significant or girlfriend wanted, then they would spend more. So he did a promotion where he called it, how did he phrase this? I remember he did a guys' night. So it was around guys, and it was around football and around food. And it was come in, watch the big game, door prizes, free food, free beer. Had a bunch of different stuff. But by the way, tell us, oh no, hold on, I got it backwards. It was the women came in for a women's night with massages, wine, pedicures, manicures, all of that stuff. And tell us, fill out your wish list. What would you love from this jewelry store? And then give us the information of your loved one. The guys got invited in to see the wish list with the bribery of beer and pizza and football and all that good stuff. And it worked great. So I remember looking at this and thinking, man, how can I leverage this for our boat dealership? Because we had a boat dealership that sold fishing gear, but also mainly boats. And our season went like this. 10 days in January, we had the Cincinnati Boat Show. We actually did a couple across the region, but January was the big one, 10 days. And so once you did those 10 days, you sold some boats in February and March, followed from the boat show. And then late March, it kicked off until pretty much July, August. And then it died down August, September until you did some people looking for a deal and you closed the year out. And then September, October, November, December, it just got progressively slower as it got to the holidays. Nobody was in the boat dealership buying stuff for Christmas. And we also had a fishing tackle department. And the fishing tackle department existed because we wanted to have an excuse to drive men to our store to walk by the boats. The fishing department was on the second floor. We had a mezzanine that overlooked the front, the showroom. We had a 13,000 square foot building, which ironically is now the world headquarters for Kona Ice, the little snow cone trucks you see driving around. They bought the building from our bank, which we gave it back to after the recession, a whole nother story. I know you're all paying on what you went through with COVID because I went through it in 2008 with the economy collapsing. But that building was 13,000 square feet, and it had, gosh, I think we had 8,000 on the front of the building and like 5 on the back, but then it had a mezzanine that overlooked the front, and the fishing department was the mezzanine. And the showroom of boats, the goal was you walk through our canopy, which had about 10 boats, and then you walk in the showroom, which had about 7 or 8, and you walk to the fishing department or service or parts, like the milk in the back of the grocery store. And so we had the tackle department, and the whole goal of that was to get people to consistently come in to buy a little random $5, $10, $15, $20 things so that they would walk by boats and they would buy boats occasionally. And guess what? It worked like clockwork. We sold boats all the time when people said they came in to get a $25 fishing lure, came in to get a G. Loomis fishing rod and left with a $50,000 Triton boat. Well, I was looking for a way to not only keep traffic in the store to sell boats in November and December, but I was looking for a way to sell more fishing gear and sell the right fishing gear because we had the same problem the Golf Exchange had. A lot of women knew their husband loved Plaps, but they didn't know what the hell to buy them there, so they came in, and every Christmas we would sell $50 to $100 gift cards. And most of those guys wanted a Shimano reel, a G. Loomis rod, a new custom Triton life vest. There was a bunch of stuff. So we did exactly what the Golf Exchange did. What I did for them was we did a series of fishing seminars. And I went out, and here's what I did a little differently. This is kind of the same with Golf Exchange. I looked for people in the business that had a following and that would love the opportunity to talk to their customers. Give you an example. Greg Swafford was the guy that made a custom crankbait in Cincinnati area, real custom, higher end. He didn't have an audience to talk to his people in this manner. This is before social media. And so we had him come in and stand on the stage and give a seminar about fishing and about the crankbaits and different things. And it wasn't there to sell fishing lures. It was there to talk about fishing. All I was trying to do was give an excuse for the fishermen to come to our dealership when they weren't normally there. Because in Kentucky, you're not doing a whole lot of fishing November, December, January. And so November, December, we did these 8 weeks of fishing seminars. I think the one year we did 12 weeks. We realized it was too much. We went back to 8. But we did it so that we would, number one, drive traffic to the store when we didn't have it. Number two, so that we could get guys to fill out a wish list of what they wanted from Plaps so that we could invite their female counterpart in. And so we did this, and we had 8 different sessions. I remember we had John, I can't think of John's last name, but he had, man, my mind's going blank. He had a fishing, Strictly Bass fishing baits in Cincinnati. We had Greg in there. We had a couple other big names. Joe Thomas, who was a professional fisherman with Skeeter Bass Boats Yamaha. He was on the Outdoor Channel. He came in. Mark Menendez was a professional fisherman back in the day. He came because we were friends with him. So we had like 2 or 3 pro fishermen, and then we had 2 or 3 lure companies, and then we had a couple other influencers. And the guys would come in, and then the week after Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving seminar, we did a fill out your wish list, $100 gift card to our store. And I knew they would use it right then and there. I didn't really care that they used it because that inventory had been sitting there for 4 or 5 months. It needed to go anyways. And so they would use the $100 gift card in exchange for filling out their wish list and giving us the name, number, and email address of 3 people in their lives. We then turned around and invited those people in, and we had 2 ladies' nights. We had food, we had wine, we had cheese, we had a foot massage lady there. And I remember it went unbelievable. They would come in, they would check in. We invited them via email, via phone call, via mail. They came in. We walked them up to the top. They had their VIP experience. We said, when you're ready, let us know. We've got your husband's wish list already over here on the side. And you can buy it all or you can buy pieces of it. And I think it was like 7 out of 10 women would buy the whole damn thing. And almost every one of them had a fishing rod, had a bag of 4 or 5 different types of lures they liked, had a reel, had some type of shirt. So we went from selling $50 to $100 gift cards to selling $400 to $500 items. Now, this is something I was telling clients of ours this past Christmas, and I'm going to start pushing it harder this next year, was that there's ways to increase that average check to be different. Every restaurant sells gift cards, and you sell more of them around the holidays and everywhere else. Well, I had told a client, many clients, but I had one client that really took me up on it. Listen, I said, man, yes, do your gift card sales to consumers, but I want you to focus on the people that have spent bigger money with you. Pull the list of every catering order over $2,500. That's probably somebody that likes your product that had it for their company meeting. Get a hold of the owner of that company, the sales manager, and say, hey, we've catered your events before. I'd love to do a bulk gift card deal with you. And I had one guy that had, this was last year, bought $100 gift cards for his employees. From a simple phone call saying, hey, man, we've catered your business a lot. I know you're a big fan of our food. Have you thought about giving your employees a gift card for the holidays? I've got a promotion. Buy X amount, get one free. I think he did buy 10, get one free, something like that. And he sold the guy $100 gift cards, 10 grand in gift card sales, one phone call. So that was how we coached them to create it. And I'm working on some ideas for that this next year, how we can teach it even at a higher level. But that was the goal of both of these promotions. How do I get these ladies who traditionally walk into the Golf Exchange or walk into Plattsburgh Outdoors and buy a $50 to $100 gift card? How do I get them to spend $300 or $400? How do you as a restaurant owner in the gift card world and Christmas get people that might normally, you're selling $50 gift cards to consumers, how do you sell $500 gift cards to the guy that is a GM of the car dealership down the street? So I want you to start thinking more creatively. And on tomorrow's episode, on episode 148, we are going to dig into how Matt Plapp would do this with a restaurant. How I'm going to take the golf seminar, the fishing seminar, the jewelry thing, and I'm going to create a creative idea that you could use in your restaurant to do something similar. So that's all I got this episode. I'm Matt Plapp. I want you to go to mattplapp.com, mattplapp.com. Scroll to the very, very bottom and click on the TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all those places, and check out what we're doing with regards to educating, informing, and letting you see behind the scenes of what we do here at America's Best Restaurants, with me traveling to go to conferences, with me traveling to go to restaurants, and with my team doing their thing. And I also want you to go to abru.online/deals. This is a page that's going to be housing, always in the future, the different opportunities to work with us, to work with our online schooling, the ABR University, which isn't a school, by the way. It's an online training for restaurants. And then to see how we can possibly work with your restaurant, whether it's us coming to on site for 3 or 4 days, you come in here 3 or 4 days, or the America's Best Restaurants filming their show at your restaurant. That'll all be on there. So check it out, abru.online/deals, and I'll see you next episode.